Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I got a request to make a how to keep your baby warm during the winter video, and I thought that it would be really fun to sit down with you guys and just chat to you about how I keep my son Hugo, who is 9 months old, warm during those colder days. Now obviously, besides the just turning your heat on tip, I know heating is really expensive and heating a whole house is really expensive, and so I know a lot of friends who try to keep their house on the cooler side and use some of these tips as a means of keeping baby nice and snug during the winter time. But let's jump into it. So the first and maybe the most obvious tip is using layers. So the best thing, if you're worried about overheating baby or baby getting too hot by putting on a really warm, I don't know, onesie or really warm outfit, the best tip I could give you is to start with layers. So I love to put Hugo in a little long sleeve onesie like this one from Carter's, and then a little pair of pants, and then maybe I'll put a sweater over this or a little zip, this cute little zipper up jacket, and that way I can keep an eye on him, and if he seems like he's getting a little bit too hot or a little bit too warm, I can unzipper this and he still has a little layer underneath, so I'm not just taking all his clothes off, but we have options then. And the way that I check to see if Hugo is too hot or not, I think the first and most obvious one is if your baby's sweating, if their hair is wet or their head is wet, it's normally a sign that they are too hot. I mean, think about your own self, right? And that's where a lot of these tips come from, is I like to think about how I dress during the winter time, and then if I'm wearing too many layers and I start getting really hot, overheating, I'm gonna start sweating. And so I always check his hair and his head, and then I always check the back of his neck too. And if the back of his neck is really hot or really warm, then I know that maybe I can take one of those layers off. Or if the back of his neck, his hands are really cold, then I might add a layer. Speaking of layers and little accessories, obviously the best one to include is a little hat. And I love little hats. I love to keep little hats everywhere, and that's a big tip too, is keep little hats and little blankets, and that's my next one. Keep little hats everywhere. So keep a little hat in your playroom, keep a little hat in your car. That way, if you're running out of the house with baby, you don't have to worry about whether or not you'll have a hat for them, or maybe it was warm at the beginning of the day and then the temperatures dropped. You're nervous about baby being cold. So yeah, I normally keep a hat in all of our primary locations. That way, if we need it, we have it. Speaking of keeping something everywhere, like I mentioned, blankets. I love keeping blankets everywhere, especially in the car. So one of the big things circulating, I don't know, I've seen it a lot on Facebook, is a huge safety concern about putting baby in their car seat with a jacket on. So you're not supposed to put baby or a little one in the car, in their car seat with a big puffy jacket on, and that's because you'll have to loosen the strap considerably to fit baby in there. But if you were to get into an accident, it poses a super high risk of baby not being secure enough in their car seat. So they recommend that you don't put baby in a car seat with their jacket on, that you instead try to keep them warm in other ways. So what I've been doing is I've been keeping a blanket or two in the car, and that way when Hugo is in the car, I strap him all in, I will then cover him with blankets. It makes for an interesting sight, and it looks a little funny, but it's safer for him and it keeps him nice and warm. Other thing that I would recommend that we do that, I don't know, it's definitely dependent on your situation, but if you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars heating your house, or if your heating bill is just getting to be too much and you want to cut back a little bit, I would recommend buying a space heater. So space heaters can be a little tricky because obviously you want to make sure that you're placing the space heater somewhere that's safe, somewhere that is away from baby and that baby can't get it. But if you have a location where you can put a space heater and then maybe baby is in a little play yard, or you have a fence or a little gate, then I would highly recommend investing in, I say investing, they're pretty inexpensive, getting a little space heater. We have one, and it's fantastic because you can then control the temperature in your space. And so if you don't want to spend an arm and a leg on heating your entire house, or if you spend most of your time, let's say, in a living room or a family room, then you can buy a little space heater, and most of them obviously have adjustable temperatures. You can find that sweet spot so baby feels warm but isn't so hot, and you're not spending an arm and a leg on heating a whole house. And my last tip for making sure that baby is nice and snug, nice and warm for the winter is feeding them warm food. I love giving Hugo warm cereal in the morning, especially because I feel like the morning tends to be a little bit colder, a little bit cooler, and so I feel like giving him a warm cereal just like warms up his insides and like starts him off on the right foot. And we've been giving him, the Beech Nut Organic, I think it was the oatmeal cereal, and I've been giving him the Earth's Best Organic Rice cereal, which we just finished today, so unfortunately I don't have it to show it to you, but I'll link it down below. He's loved it. Honestly, we haven't found a food that he doesn't like. He doesn't have any known allergies. So you might want to either consult with your doctor, or if you know that your baby can tolerate, oatmeal over rice cereal or rice cereal over oatmeal cereal. I know that the Earth's Best Organics makes all three, and I am actually expecting an Amazon package of their like variety pack today. But yeah, so what I do is I will boil up some water and add it to the cereal, and then I'll stir the cereal so that it's nice and hot. And then what I do is I will add a refrigerated baby food to it. So I like to use either the Once Upon a Farm baby food, or sometimes I'll use the Happy Baby Clearly Crafted food, but make sure that it's cold. That way when you add it to the really hot cereal, it cools it down. That way you're not waiting forever to cool off the cereal to give it to baby. And then that way you get a really nice toasty warm cereal before you give it to baby. Always, I would recommend tasting it as you go to make sure that you're not giving baby something that's way, way, way too hot. And that's it, guys. So I think, one of my best pieces of advice is always just reading your baby, always being super attentive to how your baby's feeling or how your baby's doing. And I feel like being attentive plus these tips, like, you will be able to coast right through this winter season and hopefully keep baby at a relatively nice temperature. Now, as a new mom, keeping baby warm, I mean, this is although he was born in the winter, he was born last year, but we sort of hibernated for those first 3 months. So this is my first winter like with a tiny little one, like taking him out and in and grocery shopping and all that fun stuff. And so it's a learning experience. If you have any tips to contribute, any like fun hacks to keep baby nice and warm, leave them down in the comments below. I will all appreciate them. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.